All right, we are back for episode 17 of the Minnesota Due Process Coach. Boo. I always either do a really great job with my intro or I have some weird blooper that happens every single time. We're kind of taking a little bit of a different turn today on the Minnesota Due Process Coach, just because I think this topic ties really well into education in multiple different ways. But today we are joined by my friend Rachel, and she is going to talk with us today about a couple different things, health, like mom health or parent health. So not just moms out there listening. And then also health with your kids and what you're feeding your kids and all the things that tie into that. Because I think we've had a lot of conversations on the podcast lately around behavior, and this uptick we've seen. And I think there is this area, and I've talked with it with multiple parents and teachers, of food being a big factor and diets of our kids and how they react to those diets. And I even see it in my own kids. And then also, like I said previously, about how we're taking care of ourselves, not just as parents, but as working parents. So Rachel personally for me has helped me with my health journey. I'm gonna put her on the spot a little bit. I do this to everyone, I feel like, but just huge kudos to her for really helping me with my own health journey and getting me into some of the same products she's gonna talk about today. Um and then, just really motivating me to be a better mom and a fit mom, I guess, to the point that I can. And getting me up really early
Yes.
is before I met Rachel, I would not get up early. We've kind of gotten off the rails lately with our walking, but we're going to get back there because now it's nice again and we're kind of on different schedules now, but that's okay. I'm going to let Rachel talk about herself, everyone's favorite thing to do. I was just saying that to somebody this morning. I'm like, oh, talk about yourself, favorite thing. Um, Her career, and then also what kind of brought her and got her into where she is now. So, Rachel, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's super exciting. I tried to talk Christine out of having me on her podcast, but she let me. So thank you. My name is Rachel Turnka. I am actually a bank regulator for the federal government. I have a full-time job. I'm a mom to two boys, and then I have my little side hobby. What my real passion is I'm affiliated with First Form. I've always been into fitness, but really in the last 4 or 5 years, I've really taken this journey down the health and wellness. And I think First Form has really played a huge role in that.
Yeah. So when did you originally kind of get involved or find out, I guess is the best way to put about First Form?
Yeah, so I've actually been taking First Form products for probably the last 7 or 8 years. And then in 2022, I guess let's back up a little bit. I had my first kid in 2021, and I had tracked my macros off and on. I had followed the typical diet culture, you know, trying all of like keto, all of that stuff. I'd do it for a couple weeks, yo-yo diet, and fall off. I really never stuck to anything. I tracked my macros off and on, but would always kind of diet during the week and then kind of crash on the weekend and then restart all over again. And I continued that cycle until I had my first kid in 2021. And then I decided to do 75 hard, which required me to track my macros for almost 3 months. And that's when I realized the role of macro tracking, the importance of protein. I did this all through the First Form app. I worked one on one with an advisor within the First Form app. They helped me set my macros and really teach me about protein, carbs, and fats and calories and tracking. And it really changed my outlook on everything and helped me understand the importance of protein, and that dieting and running myself 30, 40 miles on the weekends wasn't the way to get that tone physique that we all want. You know, we all want to be tan and tone. And diet culture tells us eat less, work out more. And the reality is, you know, prioritizing protein and eating a well balanced meal and strength training is really what's going to help you get there. And that's where First Form came in for me. So I did 75 hard in 2021. And then in 2022, December of 2022, I decided to apply for their Legionnaire program, which is their affiliate program. And so I coached in the First Form app as an advisor. I had about 50 clients that I was working with until my second son was born in 2024. And I kind of took a step back from the coaching role. But I still do the kind of wannabe Instagram influencer. And I'm still affiliated with First Form in that standpoint. So anytime people want to talk health, wellness, protein, nutrition, fitness, it's my obsession and I love talking about it. Even though I just don't have the time to coach right now, I still am affiliated with them.
Yeah, and I think the biggest piece that I would say, and maybe speaking for you could speak to it, is just the quality of the First Form products, which is kind of where when Rachel and I started talking about it and I was becoming more interested, was just that quality and not so much the what is that, MLM marketing that you see a lot of times.
Yeah.
I don't want to put First Form in that same whatever box, but these same companies of their MLM and buy, the sell, 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 sell. And I feel like it's so different with First Form because that's not the root of why they got into things, and what they do.
Yeah. So they're a supplement company based out of St. Louis, and they really prioritize whole food first and then fill in the gaps with supplements. And that's kind of going back to what you said about they're not an MLM, kind of be salesy. Their goal is really to help you be the best version of yourself and the healthiest version of yourself. And if supplements are going to help you get there, then absolutely you should use them. But at the end of the day, they really do try to teach you whole foods first and then fill in the gaps with supplements.
Yeah. And what they have is really good.
Yes, it's amazing. I use it. I use all their products. I think it would be better for me to start with what products I don't use of theirs than rather talk about what products. But maybe we could take a step back and talk about protein really quick for your listeners. I think that protein plays a huge role, whether it's our health and wellness or our kids' health. Protein, like first starters, it's important for fat loss. It's going to help boost your metabolism. It's the most satiating macronutrient, so it's going to help keep you fuller longer, and you're not going to have those crashes throughout the day, which is super important. And maybe for those of you who fat loss or muscle, and it's also going to be beneficial for muscle gains. And maybe your goals aren't fat loss or muscle gains, but you just want to live a healthy lifestyle. Protein is the structural component in our body. So consuming enough of it is going to help with our overall health. It's going to help maintain muscle tissue. It's also going to help aid in like stronger bones, healthier hair, skin, stronger immune system. It's also going to be important for as we age. We start to lose muscle as we age a lot quicker. And so it can help prevent age sarcopenia. So we lose muscle. So prioritizing protein can really help with that as we age. But kind of getting to your listeners, I notice a huge difference when I feed my kids protein first thing in the morning. I have two little boys, and I think that a lot of the times we're just so busy as moms, full-time moms working jobs, that it's easy to buy a box of cereal and pour some milk in there and call it good and send them out the door. But that's not going to set them up for success at school. And so, one thing that I've noticed, even when I give my kids homemade pancakes, like I can still notice that crash. So,
Yeah.
I prioritize eggs and sausage and really getting them some protein first thing in the morning. And then they can have that fun treat, whether it's chocolate chip pancakes, or I like to make my boys car waffles, like fun intrinsic waffles. Or maybe a homemade donut, or maybe they get a donut with their dad on the road, or they can have a bowl of cereal. But, we always prioritize protein first, and that's eggs and sausage for our family. And it makes a huge difference in just kind of keeping that like even balance for my kids. I notice a huge difference. They're not having crashes, that behavioral issues throughout the day when we
Oh, shoot, we lost Rachel. We lost your audio. Uh-oh. Nope. This is the
Hmm.
fun part of maybe try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. See,
Okay.
I always say to people, I'm like, we're live. People don't realize that. And I don't edit, which maybe one day I will when I get into this, like if I get into this, like editing videos and stuff like that. So just for our listeners that are listening on Spotify and Apple, we are live on YouTube here, quote unquote. So we did have a little bit of a glitch, but Rachel is back.
What was the last thing you might have heard? So
It
I
was
can,
the prioritizing protein and ensuring that they don't have those like the crashes
yeah,
and
it makes a huge difference. And I know, like, being a busy mom, one thing that I have done is I cook it on the weekend. I make a big batch, maybe a dozen, 18 eggs of sausage and eggs, and then they can just heat it up in the microwave as a quick meal. Maybe make a batch of waffles that you can stick in the freezer, and they can have it on the side with their eggs and sausage. And it's a quick, easy meal that they can have, but it's going to be nutrient dense,
Mhm.
to help support them throughout the day, from whether it's a learning standpoint or that behavioral standpoint. And I think it's so important to prioritize that protein
Yeah.
first.
I would agree with that. I was telling Rachel before we started, we were just kind of talking. I just recently have been revamping my son's diet. He's highly active in sports, and I've noticed a lot lately that he's just been living his life off of chips and pop, his favorite things. I know, right? And it's like we're on the go, and I don't, you don't notice that. And he also has celiac, so it kind of throws a different wrench into it. And if you have celiac or you're gluten free, you know that most of the things that are out there are sugar filled products, right? Like they make donuts or they make breakfast items that are safe, they're celiac safe, but they're full of sugar. And so he was eating like multiples of these items, but it was quick and easy and fast. And we were just noticing this huge crash for
Yeah.
him, being able to sustain. And he skates multiple hours a week and he does weight training. And so he needs that. And so we've been really working hard on cutting cutting the pop, which is huge for him. He loves sugar. His kids get addicted. And
Yes.
wants to admit that, but it just like adults do, you do get addicted to sugar. And I've noticed that in myself too. I've cut sugar again, and when I have it now, I'm like it just doesn't taste good anymore, which is great because Rachel knows this about me. I love treats.
Yes.
It's been like the pain of my existence for what, like 2 years now. I'm like, oh, the treats just get me every time. And he's the same way. Like he just loved the sugar and all of that and chips and that mindless eating. And so we're really trying to clean that up. And I've seen a huge change this week alone and just switching that, like you said, like we do protein pancakes, but he has to have, like bacon or sausage, something with it, or
Yeah,
eggs. And it just makes such a big difference than 5 pieces of toast,
right.
which I think he or like a plate full of gluten-free donut holes, where I'm like,
Yes.
this wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, no, it makes a huge difference. I think we've got it kind of on the docket to talk about flour and bread but I kind of want to keep on this protein. And I just, for your listeners, obviously, how much protein should you be consuming? I'll be honest, I don't track my kids' protein, and I don't think that you should track
Mhm.
it. I think you should just be mindful of it.
Right.
But I think definitely as you get older, you know, aiming for 1 gram per your goal body weight. So for me, my goal body weight's 130 grams. So that's how many grams that I shoot for every day. So if you're, say, 150 pounds and your goal weight, you want to lose 20, 30 pounds, then I would recommend aiming for 120 grams to 130 grams of protein daily to help you reach your goal. And again, going back to boosting metabolism, prioritizing fat loss instead of weight loss,
Mhm.
it's going to help keep you fuller, and just like the health benefits of it is going to be huge. Prioritizing that protein, and I don't want to downplay fruits, veggies, and all those things, but it's so important to prioritize that protein.
Well, I think that's what makes first form enticing, I guess, for me. And not to say that you should replace things like you're saying, because you should eat all those whole foods and things like that. Is first form does have a variety of products, that taste good and that help you hit those protein goals, even when you're on the go. And you're on the go a lot. You travel, and I'm on the go a lot. I travel. And so, right, like Rachel got me into protein coffee, which if you're not into protein coffee, you are missing out. It's like the best way. And I will plug First Form up and down because their protein just honestly dissolves in coffee so much better. I tried using a different one just because we were on the go, and I was like, oh, this flavor looks good that I found somewhere. And the quality and the way that it mixed and the way that it blended into the coffee was so different than my first form. And also, I think just recently we've talked about this too in the past. First form reformulated,
Yep.
really cleaned up their ingredients, which has been like it caught me by surprise. I remember I called Rachel and I was like, I think I got a bad batch.
No.
This is not the same. I think I told her too. I was like, I called First Form and I was like, hey, something's different. And they're like, yeah, we reformulated, and but in a great way.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Last year, so Christine will tell you that I try to eat as much whole foods as possible, going back to the basic, cutting out, the seed oils, all of that. And it was really hard because First Form was probably the most processed food that I consumed. And so it was a hard decision for me because the culture and everything that First Form stands for, helping people, their mission, real long term results, and not just a quick fix diet. And so it was hard for me because I loved them, their culture, and everything like that. But the products just had a lot of
Yeah.
junk. And so right when I was trying to make that decision, they started coming out with these products that were reformulated. And so it's been great to see that, for them to kind of stay on trend with what consumers are demanding and just cleaner products.
Yeah. And they still taste great.
Yeah, trying to look at some of my notes. It just is, um, I just can't think of the word that First Form uses and how they process their protein. Now it's coming to me. So they use a low temperature processed whey. So to get whey protein, you have to get it from the gel formula and to the powdered substance. You can either use heat or chemical. And so First Form uses heat. You can use high heat or low heat. And so they use the low heat, whereas high heat and the chemicals are going to make your stomach hurt. So a lot of times people will get the bubble guts from protein powders and they'll say, oh, it doesn't sit well. And so that's what Christine was kind of talking about, is it mixes well, it's smooth, it's easy to digest because of the way that they process it. You might pay a little bit more than the protein sitting next to it on the shelf, but you're paying for high quality ingredients that your body's going to be able to break down and absorb better than other proteins out on the market.
Right. And I think I mean, I know your kids would say this too. Like, I think that you feel better about giving it to your kids. I mean,
Yeah.
I mix it. I was just making protein pancakes, excuse me, for my kids. I've made two batches this week. And they're like, they taste so good. And, they don't even notice it's not gritty. It's not, it doesn't taste different. And so it tastes good. They really like it. So I would highly recommend it. And you can bake with it, right? Like you
Yep,
can,
you can bake with it, add it to your muffins, pancakes. You can make cakes if you wanted to. Whatever you want to do, you could add extra protein to just about anything because of the way that it's processed. You can cook with it.
ice,
Um,
all the things.
I would say my favorite way to consume it is going to be the protein coffee. So I use the level 1 caramel latte and then I pair it with their collagen with Dermavol. And it gives me 40 grams of protein, just about 40 grams of protein to start my day. And that's huge. I wouldn't say it's a substitute, and I don't recommend substituting it for your morning breakfast. Have some eggs with your kids too. But it's a great way to boost your protein intake first thing in the morning.
I would second that. We were just having a debate over flavors before we hopped on the podcast. I was a caramel latte till I die kind of gal, and sometimes First Form is out because I feel like everybody likes it, or it's just in high demand. And I had to try vanilla ice cream, and now I can't go back from vanilla ice cream. Not to be confused with vanilla, because vanilla ice cream
Yes.
is definitely different.
Try the new oatmeal ice. I think it's an iced oatmeal cookie flavor. And so I've heard really good reviews about it in coffee. So
Oh,
it's
I'll have to try that one. Not to be confused also with pumpkin spice latte that comes out in the fall. That
so
that
good. Right.
heavenly. Yeah, so back to so there's just like a variety of things that, not to plug First Form again, but that they offer, right? There's meat sticks. My kids eat those. I eat those. They're so great for on the go. I have them in my bag for lacrosse, like when we're out at the fields or we're busy and somebody needs a snack. Again, like Rachel was saying, not a meal replacement at all, but just a quick, easy snack that tastes good, that has this high level of protein and high quality. They have bars. I'm not so much of a bar person, and I would say Rachel's not either, that I've never really fully gotten it. I have them, like just in case like we need them or
Right.
anything like that, but I wouldn't say it's something I'm constantly grabbing for. And the other piece, and Rachel was just talking about it, and I haven't fully tried it yet, is the clear protein, which is just more or less like a liquid. I mean, they're all liquids, but I know how to describe it. More of like
It's
a
lighter protein that just it doesn't have the carbs and fats in it. So it's a little less calories than your typical traditional protein. And it's going because of that, it's going to be lighter, um, not as heavy and a lot more refreshing, perfect for the summer months. I would not recommend mixing it in your protein coffee, but it's great for on the go in your water. Some snacks that we love. Obviously, my 4-year-old loves the meat sticks. He went to work with his dad yesterday and they were packing his lunch and he goes, "Did you get me a meat stick, Dad?" And so My son loves the meat sticks. I always have to remind him, like, chew really good so you don't choke because I worry about that. But some other, like, non first form high protein snacks that we love: string cheese, Greek yogurt, nuts. Obviously, nuts are going to be a primary fat source, but they do have some really good protein in there. You know, just making your kids a sandwich, or even, this is going to be hard for some of your listeners, but peanut butter is not a primary source of protein.
I just had that conversation with Conrad. I was like,
But
peanut butter is not the end all be all.
yeah, but for, I think, kids and their protein intake being a little bit lower, having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is going to be a lot better than some of the other things that you could feed them, processed foods, especially if you're making homemade bread for them.
Right. I think what it comes down to too, Rachel, and not just like first form, and I think that's a piece of it, right? Is this really making things at home and avoiding as much process as you can,
Yeah.
and also making good choices if you are out and what those look like for your kids and how to teach them to be more balanced, even when you are on the go, because I think more and more families are on the go. I know we're on the go, and you try really hard to prioritize that at home, but what can you pack? I mean, I pack food for my kids when we go places, or when we have sports at night, just because it's easier than, I shouldn't say it's easier. Going through McDonald's would probably be easier. However, I hate McDonald's, so I can't say that that is something I'm like, yeah, let's go do that. I'm sure I'm the majority, not majority, the minority in that, but it just isn't appealing to me. I think because once you start eating Whole Foods and you start eating in a certain way, like those places don't sound good
No.
anymore.
Yeah, it
Like,
would. Sometimes I wish that we don't have a whole lot of options where we live from, like, a fast food
yeah.
convenience restaurant standpoint. So sometimes I would be like, I wish that I could just pick something up. But for me, just getting some ground beef and making tacos is, like, quick and probably easier than me running into town and getting McDonald's or Taco Bell for my kids and bringing it back home. And the time that I can run down there and get it, I could have ground up some ground beef, put some refried beans in it to make it go a little bit further, and, either doing some homemade tortillas or just going with the tortillas from the store. But it's going to be a good source of protein. You've got the fiber from the refried beans in there. And then, so it's just, there's a lot of options that, and easier than picking up that store bought or the quick drive through stuff. It's just making it a priority for your family. And that's really what it comes down to, is making it a priority.
well, you talked about previously like prepping on the weekends, and I think that's kind of a good segue into Rachel has been really, which I live vicariously through her because am not crafty. If you know that about me, there's not a crafty bone in my body. And my mom would like be like, "Oh my gosh, Christine," because she's so crafty. And also I am not a Susie homemaker either. And I probably could be if I put my mind to it, let's be real. As Rachel would be like, "You could do it because you're so,"
Yes.
like, yeah, I could try it. So instead, I just live vicariously through Rachel because she has been really diving deep into bread making. And then just most recently, in the past couple weeks, I'd say, maybe longer, milling her own flour and like the differences with that. But I like to reap the benefits because Rachel makes the most delicious things and then shares them with me. Or like last night, I send her
Yeah.
recipes and I hope that she makes them. Because you just, I think you, not that you have the time, because I think you're so busy, but I really think you just,
I
I don't
make
know.
it a priority. I mean,
Yeah.
I work 40-hour weeks. I'm a mom. I'm currently doing 75 hard, which requires two 45-minute workouts, reading 10 pages a day of a self-help or self-development book. And then I work 10-hour days. And then I make homemade meals for my family almost every night. I am very grateful that for the time being, I do work from home. I work in the office one day a week. But it comes down to just making it a priority. And it is a priority for me to put healthy home cooked meals on the table for my family. And I think going back to that Sunday meal prep, yes, it is time consuming, but it does make a huge difference for the rest of the week, being able to pull like some type of protein, something that's been prepped, and putting it on the dinner table and making it easy on for your weekdays. Um, and I would love to talk about bread. Right now, that's my like protein first form, and then it's kind of bread for me, a protein coffee in there. Don't forget about that. Um, I started sourdough about 4 years ago when my son was born because I wanted to do homemade bread. I wanted to make homemade bread. I killed my starter about, I don't know, a couple months into my first son being born. It was, it's like feeding a second child some days. And so I restarted sourdough about a year ago. And so I had made homemade bread for the last year. I hadn't bought store-bought bread. And then about 2, 3 months ago, I decided that I was going to start milling my own flour. And that seems so overwhelming, but it is the simplest thing. My 3 going on 4 year olds actually helps most days mill the flour for me, and it doesn't take any more time to mill your own flour, and the health benefits of it are huge. So store-bought flour, the germ and the bran has been removed from it. So all that's left is the middle part. They removed it. I don't know the dates and the history of it, but the millers, we all used to live very close to a mill and you would get fresh flour. Well, then the population started to grow and we started moving further away from the cities. And so removing the germ and the bran, they realized that it would be shelf stable. And so we could put it on the shelf and sell it to people further away. Well, then there started to be impacts of our health. And so the government required the millers to add back the nutrition. So they added back a couple B vitamins and iron. And so that's why you see flour, it's enriched. So it's synthetically enriched with these four nutrients. I believe a couple years later, there was some birth defects. So they started adding back folic acid. So there's 5 nutrients that are synthetically added back. But fresh milled flour has 40 of the 44 essential nutrients that your body needs. There's a couple, 3 B vitamins that it doesn't contain. So the germ and the bran is really where that nutrition is. And I don't know all the details on it. And I would recommend, if your listeners are interested in it, to go check out Sue Beckers of Bread Beckers. Her podcast is amazing. The first 5 episodes, she really dives into the history of fresh milled flour, why you should mill your own flour, the nutritional benefits of it, and the benefits that she saw for her family of milling her own flour. And I've really seen a huge difference. Obviously, protein for my kids, but since we've switched to fresh milled flour in the last 3 months, I just noticed my oldest, especially, just isn't as hungry because it has that fiber between the protein and the fiber that he's getting from fresh milled flour. He's sustained a lot longer and he's not constantly like, I don't see those crashes. Okay, let's get him some more food. We need to feed him again. Not behavioral issues or tantrums. He's an amazing kid. And I think that obviously it has to do with us and probably Bodhi. But I think that what we feed him and my youngest makes a huge difference in their behaviors and being able to interact and not just have those meltdowns. And I would say that fresh milled flour and protein play a huge role in that.
Yeah, I love that you shared that. So there's that podcast that people can listen to if they're interested. And I think people probably see too, there's a lot more people making bread and selling bread and just really looking to make sure those ingredients are quality and that you could even find that fresh milk
Yeah. And
being
even if you guys, your listeners, are like fresh milled, whoa, I can't do that. Making your own homemade bread at home, starting with a basic yeast recipe, buying some organic flour. Yes, it's not going to be the most like nutritional as fresh milled, but it's a lot better than some of the ingredients that store-bought flour or store-bought bread has. And I think that's a great place to start is, and it's so simple and easy. It's not time consuming. Um, Seems overwhelming, but bread is a great place to start, and your kids love it. Kids love carbs, they love it. So why not start with homemade bread? Add some protein to it, and then you can maybe switch to sourdough, which is a little bit more complex than your basic yeast recipes. And then you get a little bit more comfortable and you can start milling your own flour. Um, but just start somewhere. Start with the basics. It's a lot better than nothing.
Well, I think you see such a difference too. So I buy sourdough from a former cheer friend who gets fresh milled flour and uses like high quality ingredients. And it's so interesting. I was at the store the other day and we were out of the sourdough because again, I don't make sourdough. And I had picked up one in the store that said it was like sourdough from the grocery store in like the bread section, where they make their bread, whatever.
Yes.
And like to read the ingredient list. I was like cringing because when I pick up my sourdough, it has I think four ingredients.
Or flour,
Yeah.
salt, water.
And like so minimal and I just it's such a difference and my daughter has noticed that too like when she eats the sourdough she's like my stomach doesn't hurt. It's she just it feels different and I would say the same thing. It's like from when you go from these highly processed carbs or complex carbs or any processed food to a more natural, it's just such a difference.
Makes a huge difference.
It does. And not just with kids, I think as adults too. I think, you work from home and I mostly do too. And I think you can crash, right, if you don't sustain and eat the right foods throughout the day and you're just a different, I mean, I notice it like if I eat something like a cookie, right? Like Paige has been making cookies. And you just feel like garbage. You're like, oh, that, you get that crash afterwards, like, oh, that stinks, and I'm tired now, and I want to take a nap, or, I don't want to keep working and do these things. But I think there is something to be said about as adults and working adults really maintaining somewhat of a healthy lifestyle if you can, right? Getting out, working out, even if it's just walking and
Yes.
eating better foods or at least taking care of yourself. And I am the first person to say all I used to eat was salads, thinking that I was gonna just be, skinny from the salads. And
Yes.
this,
Diet Coke.
yeah, what is that skinny talk I've seen lately? I'm like, oh God. Um, but really prioritizing protein is huge for me.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
It's my computer. This is what happened yesterday. I was telling my friend Danny when I was recording, I was like, I think I have too many tabs open, and I have like six windows, and like it's like 12 tabs on each window that are open because that's my brain, Rachel. And this is only one of the three computers that I run. So it's like every computer has like multiple windows open. I'm like, this must be what it's like inside of my brain. And if I lose a tab, I like freak out. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I'm like, I'm never gonna get that tab back. Maybe I'll need it in 6 months.
Yes. Yeah. Going back to what you were talking about, like why it's so important for us to like prioritize protein. Even if you can't find time to go to the gym, go for a walk, take your kids with you and let them ride their bikes. The best thing that we can do is lead by example as parents. And just because our parents ate one way doesn't mean that we have to continue that trend. We can always change. Like I'm 33 years old and I'm just now milling my own flour. Like that's okay. It's baby steps, and just the best thing that you can do is lead by example and show them that you're making steps to be the best version for yourself so you can show up for your kids as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I say that as my kids were eating veggies last night at 10 o'clock for a bedtime snack. I was like, my mom heart was so So happy.
Yeah.
Funny because I have to laugh because I know Bodie's like this too, but Eddie was just complaining the other day. It's like, there's no food in this house. And I was like, but there is. It's just not the chicken cookies and snacks that you want to binge on right now.
It's an ingredients household. I think Bodhi complains most. I've recently switched to buying blocks of cheese and shredding it myself. And so I think that's the thing that bothers him the most is that there's no shredded treat cheese in the house. I'm like, yes, there is. You just have to shred it yourself. But he just wants to eat like a quesadilla with shredded cheese. And it's like, I'll make you a quesadilla, but I'm going to shred the cheese myself.
That's so true, though. We are an ingredient household because I say that all the time to him. I'm like, yeah, but there's this, this, and this, and you can make this, and then it'll be there. And it's like that wanting that easy, like to pull from the fridge. I think is so. But I think there are swaps for that. Like I have grilled chicken breasts in my fridge at all times, so like my kids can heat them up, or I can, or he can heat them up, and it's just those easy pieces. So instead of going somewhere and grabbing, it's like, oh, you can heat a chicken breast up and put it on your, your salad or have it with rice or whatever. I've really been trying to move to that direction. My family doesn't love it as much, but I do.
Yeah, and I think for your listeners that they're like, "Whoa, this is so overwhelming. I have no idea where to start." I would encourage you guys to check out First Form. Check out the First Form app. They just recently increased the price, but it's under $30 a month that you can work. You can track all of your macros, so your protein, carbs, and fats, your calories, an advisor will set those for you. You will work with them one on one. You will check in with them weekly. You can message them at any time throughout the week that you need to, and they will respond to you within 24 hours. There's live education every day, Monday through Friday, from the registered dietitians or the certified nutritionalists at First Form headquarters that come on and do like 30 minutes of education and then open it up to live questions. And you don't have to watch it live, you can watch it on demand as your schedule permits. But I think that people think that you have to have like hundreds of dollars to work with a nutritionalist or something like that to see real change. And I would encourage your listeners to check out the First Form app because it is just so encouraging and they're there to hold your hand and support you. And it is a simple process. The the game plan that they run is protein, aim for 1 gram of protein per your goal body weight, calories, eating whether your goal is fat loss, maintenance, or gaining. They're going to help you set your calories. It's not going to be so restrictive that you're not able to eat. You're going to enjoy yourself and still see results. They're not going to starve you. And then water, getting your steps in, and then strength training 3 to 5 times a week. It is a simple process. That's the game plan that they run in the First Form app, but simple isn't easy. You have to put in the work at the end of the day. But I would encourage, if you guys are wanting to make that change, the First Form app is a great place to start. And your listeners, I have a link for the First Form app so they can find me on Instagram or reach out to you and I can share it with them.
Yeah, we'll link that with the YouTube video today, and then obviously with on Spotify and Apple. We'll put that Rachel's link at the bottom so you can kind of just click and go. I think it's important too. We were talking about this only because I get excited and I send Rachel pictures before everybody got on. But First Form is now available in a variety of different places, especially here in the metro. If you're close, the Shakopee Hy-Vee carries a good amount, not everything, but probably I'd say the core essentials like that. I would say First Form is pretty well known for. You can find the meat sticks, that's where I buy mine, and the bars. If you're interested in the bars, they have First Form Energy there. They now have smaller versions of the protein powder. It's not the bigger version that you can order from the website. I think they have the multivitamin. I think they have the
Yeah, greens, I think.
greens they had. And then the other partner too that they have now, which is super exciting, which is I had sent Rachel a picture, was Scheels. So if you go to the Scheels in Eden Prairie, the mecca that it is, they have a huge variety of first form and also I think every single meat stick flavor, which has been really cool because I've wanted to try a couple of new ones. So I've been able to do that by just grabbing one there. So it's
Yeah.
really that you don't, if you want to just try, right? If you're not
And
ready to fully
I
order.
would even recommend your listeners order it online from First Form if they're interested in trying it because First Form has the 110% satisfaction guaranteed. So if you ever buy a product from them and you're like, man, I don't like this flavor, it doesn't sit well on my stomach, First Form stands behind their products 110%. So you can send it back and their customer service team will take care of you, no questions asked. So you can try a product, whether it's the level one, the greens, whatever it may be, for a day or two, and you're just not into it. They stand behind their products, and so you can send it back and they'll refund you. But most of the time, you're gonna order it and absolutely fall in love with it and not send it back.
And it's great too because first form being located in St. Louis, like there's like real people there. So like when I called the one time thinking my protein was weird, I talked to a real person. Like they literally answer the phone. There's no like hold while we connect you. It is somebody from first form picks up the phone and they send you handwritten notes in your boxes when you get them. I mean, it's just the personalized service that they offer, I think is insane. I mean, I was missing my fish oil and I called and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll fix it for you right now, Christine." Da, 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 and then sent me a follow-up email making sure that everything was good was
Yeah,
good.
service is next to none. And obviously, like your listeners, get in the app, check them out. And Christine will link my contact information. And while I'm not coaching, it is, as you guys can probably know, like, can catch on listening to this podcast, health wellness is my passion. I love talking about it. And my goal is if I can make a difference in one person's life, then I've made a huge difference. So I would encourage you, like, if you have any friends, listeners that would like to reach out and have questions, want to talk about their goals, while I'm not coaching and doing it on a regular basis, I can always point them in the right direction, recommend products that might be helpful for their goals.
Yeah, Rachel is a wealth of knowledge. So, well, Rachel, I'm so happy you could join us today. This has been
Yeah,
great, and we
sure.
keep talking. That's kind of how it feels when we're walking too. It's like, oh wait, we're already done.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you being here today. And like Rachel has said, and I have said, I will link all of her information on where you can find her, where you can find the First Form products. And obviously, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to her or reach out to me and I can connect you or find the answer for you. I ask Rachel lots of questions all the time, so she's used to
I,
it.
I love it.
Does. All right, well, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christina. It was a pleasure.